The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. Francis Scott Fitzgerald.
Author's Foreword.
What if there were an omnipotent and omnipresent God who agreed to answer any one question of yours, but only one question? What would you ask? For me, there's nothing more important and interesting than answering the question, what is life? Why? For several reasons. First, modern science still hasn't provided a clear answer to this question. It seems like there are answers, actually not just one answer, but an enormous number of different ones. In 2011, the well-known Israeli molecular biophysicist Edward Trifonov identified and analyzed 123 definitions of life given by scientists from various fields and disciplines. More than 100 definitions. Wow! This only shows that when it comes to what life is, we are still definitely far from definitiveness. The existing definitions of life are too applied. They strongly depend on the area of knowledge from which they are formulated. For example, the definitions given by biologists rely on certain properties inherent in life, such as organization, metabolism, homeostasis, growth, reproduction, responsiveness, and evolution. At the same time, biologists themselves realize that not all living beings exhibit all these properties, and viruses, according to biologists, fall into some gray zone of semi-living beings. Chemists have their own definitions. In their view, life is inseparably connected to various carbon polymers. But astrobiologists, primarily represented by NASA, call this approach carbon chauvinism and define life as a self-sustaining chemical system capable of Darwinian evolution. The chemical basis of life is questioned by scientists working on artificial intelligence and artificial life. Of course, all these definitions make sense. They are locally valid, but this only means that each of them describes no more than a particular branch of one vast, sprawling tree. To understand where this tree originates, we need to descend to its root, to the level of the principles of reality, that is, to the level of philosophy. Second, by clearly answering the question, what is life, we can also definitively answer other questions that have intrigued people for centuries, such as, what is the meaning of life? What is God? Do absolute good and evil exist? Where does life come from, and where does it go when it dies? Can artificial intelligence replace or conquer life? And many others. Third, this book will help us understand what forms of life we might discover in space, and most importantly, help us figure out how far humanity can go in uncovering the mysteries of the universe. Fourth, by answering the question, what is life, we can take a completely new perspective on quantum mechanics and nuclear physics. In recent years, many renowned scientists have increasingly spoken about a crisis in physics as a science. Widely accepted theories are struggling with a growing number of contradictions, and physics is in urgent need of new approaches to explain reality. Answering the question, what is life, will lead us to exactly such a new approach. Fifth, we will seriously reconsider the interpretations of the second law of thermodynamics, which currently push us toward the conclusion of an inevitable increase in entropy in the universe. I hope this book will spark an unseen dialogue with readers whose eyes light up at the temptation to discover something new, to ponder something they've never thought of before, and to debate new ideas and meanings with the author. So, onward, dear friends.